is Jandel, one of Roblox's richest developers and a Roblox millionaire. And standing alongside him are tons of other rich Roblox developers. And unfortunately, this is me. But wait, I also became a Roblox millionaire. But before I show you guys how much Robux I actually have, let's start from the beginning, going all the way back to 2017 when I first joined Roblox. And at the time, I was only 8 years old. And while I was growing up, I never had a computer, and instead, I was an iPad kid. I had just discovered Roblox and I quickly got addicted. And the addiction got so bad where I would literally be playing Roblox every single day, every chance I had. And while I was playing games, I just thought it was so cool how normal players can just make a front page game and end up becoming rich and famous. And I wanted that to be me. But there was a slight issue. Like I said before, I didn't have a computer. And to even think about making Roblox games, you obviously needed one. But that would all change when 2020 comes around and my dad gets me a gift. And he gets me my first ever laptop. I was hyped. So I immediately installed Roblox Studio, opened up a new base plate and searched up a tutorial. Hey guys, today I'll be teaching how to create a very easy and simple clicks leader stats. So first we have to create a simple function that counts how many clicks you have. Very easy stuff. Then we can just add some remote events and store everybody's clicks in the table. And finally we can just wrap everything inside a class. And that's how you make a very easy clicks leader stats. And if you guys couldn't follow along with this easy tutorial, then you're cooked. You should just quit. Until I realized making Roblox games isn't as simple as banging two rocks together. I had no clue how to code and was too stupid to try and learn it, so I gave up and went to bed. The very next day, I hopped back on Studio, determined to make a game even with my limited knowledge. So I got to work and I started building and parkour to get free admin. Yeah, this was my first game. Can we just take a second to admire this description? You are selected to have a chance to parkour to heaven and get admin. P.S. This game has no checkpoints. Only reason this game had no checkpoints is because I didn't know how to make them. And looking back, it was so bad. Oh my god. I'm pretty sure everything in this game was straight from the toolbox. And the funny part is, nothing at the end worked, not even the admin. So like the 10 people that played this game got scammed. And the obby was so short, I'm pretty sure you could beat it in like 10 seconds. Since the game was complete garbage, nobody played it, which completely demotivated 11-year-old me. And so I ended up quitting. So around a year has passed and little old me stumbles upon a YouTube video. Unfortunately, the video got privated, but it was basically just some guy making a Roblox game and I found that so cool. Wait, yo, wrong video! But this inspired me to maybe give Studio another try. So I hopped back on and started messing around with different game ideas like obbies, story game, and whatever this was. Then I started experimenting with building environment and terrain, and with every game I made I slowly improved. Like take a look at this map. I'd say this was my best build back then. It was supposed to be an RPG game, but the furthest I got into making an RPG was taking an NPC from the toolbox, then quitting the project halfway through. And this was the same story for every game I made. Remember those games I showed you guys a second ago? Yeah, not a single one was released. I would always start projects, but I would never finish them. The biggest reason was because I still did not know how to code. It was like trying to learn how to run before you could walk, which led to every project dying one by one. Once again, I lost all my motivation and I officially uninstalled Roblox Studio. So now it's been around 5 years and a lot has happened. I moved houses, got a new computer, and time has just flown by. Once again, I'm on YouTube, but this time I discovered Roblox game development YouTubers.
Sup guys? If you've ever played Roblox before, you've probably seen this in this intense game.
I fell in love with this type of content and binged it, and while I watched, it sparked something inside me. I remembered my game development phase years ago and thought that maybe, just maybe, I should reinstall Studio. But then I remembered that I still could not code and there's just no way that I'm going to be able to— Wait! What's this? AI? You mean this could code your whole game for you? This discovery amazed me and is a total game changer. But this might also be a massive mistake later. After some thinking, I started working on a new game. But this time, I was determined to not quit like all those other projects back then. When I started, it was spring break for me, so I had a lot of time on my hands. I spent every day during my break just working on this game and grinding it out. And with AI by my side doing the coding, I felt unstoppable. It's time to introduce you guys to Obby, but you're a farting monkey.
This game is straight.
Bro, who do you think you are? Come here right now. The concept was simple. You were a monkey and you fart to complete the obby. You could fart upwards or forwards and you would use it to beat obstacles. But this game was really bad. Like really bad. There were so many bugs and it was very difficult to use the controls because all of the code was AI. I thought that it could make an entire game for me, but I found out that it definitely could not. The map was also horrendous and overall the game was just terrible. And from 3,000 visits, this game has made 377 Robux. Now usually what happens is sad music starts playing and I tell you that I quit. No, even though 377 Robux doesn't seem like a lot, it was my first ever taste of Robux. This motivated me even more and it will soon pay off. Make sure you keep watching because it gets crazy. Instead of giving up, I realized where I went wrong and finally decided to fix it. Around this time, I was in a coding class in my school, and although it was a different language from Lua, it built my understanding of code. On top of that, I would start watching Roblox Studio coding tutorials. And after around a month of doing this, I felt more ready than ever and started working on a new game. I admit, I still used AI, but instead of having AI do all the work, instead, I worked and learned alongside. Whenever I didn't understand how to make something, I would have AI create it and then explain to me how it works. Or if there was an error, I would ask where I went wrong. This method honestly helped me learn so much. And so, after around 2 months of non-stop development, Swim Clickers was born. Okay, my bad, that sounded way cooler in my head. Anyways, the game is a clicking simulator where every click you swim faster and faster. And you can reach extremely high speeds. You would then use that speed to beat challenges where you could earn wins. And with those wins, you could hatch pets, unlock gear, and discover new areas. The difference between this game and my previous game was like night and day. Sure, it didn't look the best and there was a lot of bugs, but I was proud of it. So to advertise this game, I released my first ever YouTube video. Don't watch it though, it was like pretty bad. But you guys should totally like check out my other videos. And while you're there, why don't you also subscribe? No, go back up. I see that you're not subscribed.
Go subscribe now.
Anyways, the video started getting views and the people who watched went to go play the game, and at its peak it had 15 CCU. Although it seems small, it was the most amount of players I've ever had playing my game before. After seeing this success, I kept on updating this game, but unfortunately, it never managed to hit the algorithm. Not because the game was trash, but because the genre of clicker games was long dead. These type of games rarely ever got popular anymore. However, I didn't let this get me down because the game has made a total of 20,000 Robux. That was the most amount of Robux I have ever touched in my life at that time, and I was so hyped to finally see my work pay off. And although the game didn't make it far, it only lit a fire underneath me to keep going. After learning that my last game didn't hit the algorithm because of its genre, I wanted to create a new game, but this time with an actual popular genre. At the time, these weird looking creatures called brain rots were blowing up. Little kids just loved them for some reason. And as you probably know, along with it came a bunch of brain rot games, but one stood out in particular. It was called My Singing Brain Rots. All it was just a copy of another game called My Singing Monsters, but instead of monsters, it was brain rots. Now when it released, it was growing extremely fast, getting over 100k CCU and over 200 million visits in just a couple weeks. And it was so obvious that this was going to be a trend very soon, and I wanted to hop on it as soon as possible. But I needed an idea first. So instead of brain rots, I chose YouTubers. I know, like I'm such a genius, bro. So I got straight to work on this game. The development process was very challenging. I was working with systems that I have never even touched before, and I had no clue what the heck I was doing. And it felt like every new system was a whole nother mountain I had to climb. But eventually, I was able to finish the game. 2 months later. The game was simple. You purchase these play buttons, you go to your plot and place them. They then hatch into YouTubers, and over time, they make you money and music. I was happy with how this game came out, and it felt way better than my previous game already. However, by the time I finished, there were already so many other singing games made, and I was so late to the trend. I thought this game failed for sure, yet still, I released it. I then went ahead and invested most of the Robux I made from swim clickers into advertisements. After the first week of ads running, it didn't really give me much. The game was only averaging 3 to 8 players daily and the stats were mediocre. This discouraged me. I thought that I was too late to the trend and that this game was a flop. But I waited. And how wrong I was. The next time I checked on it, it hit 30 CCU and this blew my mind. I thought that this was its peak, but not even a couple hours later, I went to check my phone again and it was at over 100. And then the next day, it was at 200. And later that weekend, it peaked at 453 players. I have no words to explain how happy I was to hit this number. I mean, just a couple days ago, I was celebrating when the game hit 10 CCU. Now it's almost at 500. With this amount of players in my game, it was generating crazy amounts of Robux. And during its lifetime, it's made over 600,000 Robux. But that's not the only source of income. There's also something called creator rewards, and how it works is the longer players stay in your game for, the more money that the developer makes. And from creator rewards alone, it's made 173,000 Robux, bringing the grand total to 801,365 Robux. I couldn't believe it. I felt like this was a dream. I invested only 20,000 Robux into this game and got almost $1 million in return. I was so relieved that all the time and effort I put into this game did not go to waste. The game continued to keep getting players, but as the singing trend slowly died, so did my game. But I was so satisfied with how this game performed. I was determined more than ever to keep going, leading to the creation of my very next game. Now, the reason why my singing YouTubers performed so well was because it followed a popular trend. But the issue with that is trends, they die quick. The games following the trends have massive growth at first. Then as people begin to get bored and lose interest, all these games die out. So for my new game, I didn't want it to just follow a trend that would eventually die in a month, which led to me doing some digging, and I found out that obbies, one of Roblox's oldest genres, are still pretty popular to this day. But there's a modern version now of this genre called two-player obbies. It's a trend that's very old and has lasted for a long time, and these games still get a decent amount of players. And I knew that this genre will always be around because people will always want games to play with their friends. Now there were already so many different types of two-player obbies, and it felt like there was no more ideas left that I could use.
Would you still love me if I was a worm?
Wait, say that again.
Would you still love me if I was a worm?
You're a genius! The idea is, one player would be a worm and the other would have to carry them through the whole obby. Since this game was an obby, I thought it would be much simpler to code than my last games, right? I got straight to work, and since I actually had Robux this time, I commissioned a builder to make me a map while I scripted the game. And it actually wasn't too bad, but I did encounter a lot of bugs which delayed the game. And after another month of work, the game was finally finished. There were 3 maps that the players could be, and these maps were pretty big. The players carried the worm in a flower pot, and they had to work together to beat stages, with the worm needing to press buttons to let their partner get past. It was a simple concept, but it was pretty fun in my opinion. And once again, I went ahead and used Robux to advertise. In the first couple of days, it only had a handful of players, but for some reason, the CTR was extremely high. And I knew it was only a matter of time before this game blew up too. So I waited and waited. 2 weeks have passed and still nothing? The game didn't hit the algorithm yet, and it was only averaging a couple players. At this point, I thought that the game was done. Maybe I was wrong about this genre still being popular. So I went to bed thinking that it was over. When I woke up, I went to check my game and 200 CCU? I checked the stats and saw that it finally reached the algorithm. A couple days later, it would climb to 600, beating my previous CCU record. And later that day, it would go on to 1,000, then 2,000, and on the weekends again, it hit 5,000 players. I was over the moon. I wasn't expecting to hit such an insane number. I was literally about to give up on the game, and the sales were coming in crazy. I would refresh my page and there would be like 20 new sales. But now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, how much did this game make me? Drum roll please. 1.7 million Robux. Wow. And with creator rewards making me 700,000 Robux, I've made a total of 2.4 million Robux. Never in my life did I think I would touch a number this big, but the dream I had when I was a kid finally came true. The game now sits at 14 million visits and averages around 300 to 500 players still. And it definitely proves that you don't need to chase trends to be successful. Now, I didn't make this video to flex on you guys. The Robux I have isn't even a fraction of how much those big developers have. I wanted to show you guys that game development isn't a linear journey. It's impossible to not fail. But the most important thing is to just do it, bro, because you'll never know what could happen.